Welcome back, everyone. I'm Jason and you're watching Jason Jensen Trains. Well, I just received a box from my friend Waymen, all the way from Atlanta. So let's open it and see what we've got. I'm pretty excited about this because he's already done a video on building what's inside this box. So be sure to check out his channel at Pro Scale Models. And you can see the video on how he built this. Now, he sent it to me. I'm going to do some work on it and send it back to him. All right, it's packed really well. He's included some awesome Pro Scale model stickers. Love it. More stickers. Very cool. Very cool. All right, let me move some of this. A+ on packing. This is great. That's exciting. Wow. Man, great job, Waymen. Love it. Absolutely love it. All right, let's head over to the workbench and get started on this. All right, well, I'm going to add another structure next to this. And I'm going to build a DPM kit. Now, I've built at least 10 of these things. The key is the prep work. So here's our pieces. They give you a piece of plastic for the roof. Here is trim that goes on the inside of the wall that supports the roof. Now, when I mentioned prep work, it's very important. I use my file and I make sure that everything is filed really flat. Because most of these, I don't know how they're made, injection molding, I'm not sure, but everything has a slight bevel to it. And so you need to file everything or sand it. But what they recommend is putting down a flat piece of sandpaper, putting a block behind it so that it's perfectly straight, and then sanding it. And you have to be careful because some of the walls have a brick texture on the side, so you don't want to sand or file those. Just the ones that don't have that texture on the side. But then you also need to do the top and especially the bottom. Make sure that it's really flat. Then, I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to take some rough sandpaper and just quick rough up the back. And rough up the back so that when you glue it, that glue, it gives it kind of a texture so that it sort of welds together really good. The next thing I'm going to do, let me just do it quick. I'm going to use 150. You just want to rough it up so it's not so smooth and slick. Okay, now I'm going to work on the walls while they're flat. Then I'll glue them together. All right, let's move this out of the way. I don't want to break it. Okay, the next thing, we're going to put a primer on these, and we're going to use two types of primer. Let me grab them quick. For the red brick, we're using this. And for the gray concrete, let's do the gray first. Okay, the gray primer is done. I will unmask these. And I know you're probably thinking, why didn't you just spray the entire thing gray? Well, I will show you. Now, let's mask the gray. And the technique that we're using on this, you don't have to be too careful with masking it. Alright, now I will go put the reddish brown primer on these. Okay, our reddish brown primer is all done. Now we're going to make stencils. Okay, there's one stencil. Okay, the spray paint is all done. Now we'll do one wall at a time, but we're going to use chipping effects from Ammo. So we'll probably spray all of the walls with 2 coats of this, letting it dry in between. And then we'll spray our white on one wall and then chip away, spray this white, chip away, and same on the others. Let me move this out of the way just in case. I don't want anything to happen to it. Alright, next we're going to apply the chipping fluid with the airbrush. Now let this dry really good and then apply another coat. Now we're going to mix white and old wood. Probably 50-50. I don't really have an off-white. I wish I did, but that's okay. I've got regular water. Sorry, you're first supposed to get everything wet. Now you can do as little or as much as you'd like. Okay, so first we'll just get it all wet. Let me zoom in so you can see this a little better. Okay, so I just ran some cleaner through my airbrush and cleaned it real well. Next, we have to glue on these little supports for the roof card. So what I did was, well, here you can see there's two pieces to the chimney. So you want that roof card to be right below the chimney. So here's the piece with the chimney. So that gets glued on there like that. So you want your piece of plastic to go right underneath that piece. So I figured out that measurement and simply marked it. So I made a mark here, made a mark here, put a ruler, drew the line. Those are all done. Now let's do this one. So always go from the bottom and go up. I say always measure from the bottom up because the walls are different height. These two walls are taller than these two walls. They have a decorative trim along the top. Okay. Now I put in some wood. And what it is paper. Now, very easy to make. Just take a bunch of wood and maybe cut it an inch. You can go however long you want, inch, 2 inch. Cut a bunch of those and then just take a piece of paper and glue those all onto that piece of paper so that you make a square. Then take some wood stain or water down some of your acrylics and paint the individual boards. Then lay that on your scanner and scan it into your computer and print it out. And if you don't have a computer, make a bunch of those. Make say like 5 of them. So you have 5 squares made up of all strip wood, and use all different. Stain some where it's more towards the reds or warms, some where it's a cooler color more towards the bluish grays. You could do some where it looks like it's peeled paint, and then take those to a local copy place and lay all 5 of those on a copier and just run off a whole bunch of copies. Then you have them. Now for these windows, we're going to use laser board to make it look like plywood. Just like this here. So I'm gluing on these little strips with Tester's model glue. Now I'm going to see if I've got some more because that's all they give you. So I just cut the piece they sent in the kit in half. But I'd like some on these 2 walls. So let me see if I have some. Okay, so I do have some. It's a little bit thicker, but that's okay. I probably should have used this full piece and I could have made these longer, but that's okay. There's enough there to hold it. Okay, the supports are all done. Now let's get our plywood glued in these windows. Then we can glue the walls together. Okay, I've got a piece of laser board, but any thin cardboard would probably work because we're going to end up painting it. Okay, now we'll cut some for the top windows. Okay, let's get this plywood painted. Hey, and don't forget to check out Pro Scale Models. Big thanks to Waymen for sending me the cool stickers. I love it. All right, we're going to start with light wood. And then we'll use a little dust. Yeah, it's got some gray in it. I like that. Okay, so first my brush is too wet. Sorry. Make sure you go one direction. Plywood has a definite grain that runs one direction. So, okay, I'm wanting these a little bit more gray, so I'm going to try using aged barnwood. Okay, now I'm going to glue in all of the pieces with super glue. Just a little bit in each corner. Now I cut these slightly smaller so that if you wanted to do them at a slight angle, you can. I'm really happy with these. You know, it's so cool when you get a chance to work with another modeler. Because I've never done boarded up stuff like this, especially the plywood. And when I looked at Waymen's, I saw that he used laser board. I thought, wow, that's a great idea. So you learn something when you're working or talking with other people about modeling. It's great. All right, let's attempt to get these walls glued together. I'm using 1, 2, 3 blocks, and I got these off of Amazon. Now I'm going to do a combination. I'm going to use my model glue. Okay, the walls are all glued together. Now we'll glue in our front door. And as you can see, glue it in from the back. Now we'll cut our roof card. And all I did was set that on there and then took my pencil inside and traced it. So I'm sponging on some black so that it matches Waymen's. Next, we're going to start on the base. And I'm just using a piece of mat board. And I don't know if you can see, but I drew the sidewalk all the way around. Just on 3 sides. And then I outlined the foundation. Now there's a foundation that's going to go in the center, but it's going to look like the building was tore down. So it's just going to be a concrete slab. Next, what I need to do is on the sidewalk, take an X-Acto knife and carve or cut all these lines. Okay, the lines are all carved, and I even did some cracks. Peeled away a thin layer of the mat board. Now let's work on our foundations. So I just made a pattern out of paper for my foundations, and I am going to cut this out of styrofoam. Now I'm not going to make a foundation for this building because it sort of looks like on the model that it already has a foundation that's molded into the plastic. So I'm just going to leave that one. Well, as you can see, the foundations are done. So you can see I even cut out some little broken concrete bricks. I made the steps a little bit lower in the front and the back, and you might not be able to see it, but I actually carved cracks in that foundation. Alright, let's get some painting done. Using my old favorite chalk paint, Cocoon. I bought this at Michael's craft store, but other places sell it, and you can probably even find it on Amazon. My brush is pretty wet, and I just dipped it in the paint. Actually, this is almost gone. I need to go buy some more. I'm scraping the bottom. Now we'll take our X-Acto knife and go over the lines. You don't have to press hard. Not at all. Just drag it in those lines because the paint filled in some of the cracks. Alright, now let's paint our foundations. Now we're going to put a gray wash over all that concrete. And the gray that I'm using is slate gray. I just had an entire quart mixed of it at Home Depot because I use so much of it. And you can see I use a lot of it, adding a lot of water to it. Now this mat board is going to warp because you're getting it wet. So we'll have to sort of bend it back in shape after we're all done. Alright, we'll quick blow dry this. Now I'm going grayer than I normally do because Waymen's layout is set in present day. So we don't want the concrete looking too aged. Now we have some broken up concrete and stones on here, so okay, we'll move those all to the side here. Let them dry. Well, I know it's a pain, but we have to go over the cracks again. I probably should have just waited till it was all done. Alright, let's get our foundations glued on. I'm using Titebond. It's starting to warp a little bit, so I'm just kind of bending it the opposite way so it lays flat. Okay, now let's get some dirt and grass on here. So I just took bittersweet chocolate and painted the ground brown color. Now I'm taking light avocado. So I just finished putting some grass on there, and I just peeled it off of a grass mat. And you can get these at Scenic Express. Now we'll put some dirt on there. I just put some Elmer's glue on there, and I'm just adding some water to it. I consider this the cheap and fast way to scenic. We'll shake this off, so don't worry about the mess. The dirt is only going to stay where we have the glue. Okay, let's take some Farm Dark Earth. I'm going to dirty up this foundation. Okay, I think our base is looking really, really good. Okay, let's not forget that we have all of our little chipped concrete. Next, let's glue on our buildings. So I'm using liquid nails. Why liquid nails? Because it's super strong and I have to ship this all the way to Atlanta. All right, that's exciting. All right, I have a surprise for a Wayman, and he won't know about it until he watches this video. I am building this diorama to go on his layout. So that is why I'm using mat board. I wanted a thin material that he could just glue right in front of a street and it would just fit perfectly. He doesn't have to cut away anything to drop it in. He can just glue it onto a flat surface. I'm so excited about this. And the next thing we're going to work on is really going to fit on his layout, because his layout is present day. And the story is there are robots, Gundam robots, that have crash landed on planet Earth. Who knows why? Maybe there was a battle out in space, in the universe, and some of them were killed or are now inactivated. So they're floating around in space and a meteor hits them and propels them towards Earth. And eventually they just crash landed on Earth. Now, what's great is that these robots still have a power source inside of them. So on Earth, people are powering entire cities by hooking up to these large robots. It's a very cool story, very original to have on a layout. I love the concept. So we're going to be adding a robot to this diorama, and we're going to make it look like maybe the government or some agency has hooked up wires to this robot, and is somehow powering part of the town or part of the city. All right, well, this is going to be exciting, and I can't wait for Wayman to see this. All right, next, we're going to glue this in place, and this is what's going to hold the robot upright so that they can attach all the wires to it. All right, so here's our robot. Now, I had to break the leg off so that I could twist him to get him in there. It's plastic being glued to styrofoam. So, I'm thinking liquid nails. First, I'm going to take some sandpaper and rough up the bottom of his foot. Now, before that sets up, we have to quickly get the other one glued in place. Okay, now I'm going to put a little bit of super glue to hold his arm. And then we'll put some over on this side. Okay, so I just took some plastic pieces from model kits and parts from toys and painted them all a bluish color, then dry brushed a silver, now we're going to glue these on, and then I'm going to hook up wires in between the pieces and then all to the robot. Now, some of the pieces are plastic to styrofoam, so I need to get my liquid nails again. All right, well, it is finished. Now, I want to challenge Wayman to continue to add details. Maybe some roof details. It'd be nice to see maybe a 10-foot tall chain link fence around that center area, or possibly around the entire block. Then maybe some utility poles, pigeons, little newspapers blowing around, trash. It's endless. There's just so much that can be done to this. And then the biggest challenge will be for him to incorporate this into his layout. All right, well, I want to give a big thank you to Wayman for inviting me to be a part of this project. I learned so much working on this diorama, and I hope you did too. I'm so excited to see what he's going to do with this, and how he's going to incorporate it into his layout. So be sure to visit his YouTube channel at ProScale Models, and be sure to check out part 3 coming up very soon. All right, well, thank you all so much. I truly appreciate it. And I want to give a big thank you to all of these people. Amazing. I appreciate you so much. All right, well, until next time, stay motivated and happy modeling, everyone.